I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll call meeting to order. Roll call.
Mayor Westergaard,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Brandt,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Stankamp.
Yes. Yeah. No.
Okay, public forum. You're up.
Yeah, my timing was good with the discussion I've heard here tonight. The city has ordinances, and I don't understand why we're not following the ordinances. I've had weeds growing behind my house on the Lakewood Partners. I've been in this office 3 times this summer before Memorial Weekend, and maybe a month later, and then probably about a month ago. Nothing's ever been done here. You have an ordinance that says we'll send a certified letter, and if we don't get an answer in 5 days, we as a city will mow it. I want to know why that has not been done, and why I have to come to a council meeting when it should have never got this far.
I agree with you 100%.
It's just crazy. It's stupid. I mean, you got ordinances, follow the goddamn things, for Christ's sake. And it's the easiest thing in the world. I've been in the utility business for 40 years. You follow the rules, nobody gets in trouble. You got ordinances, follow the goddamn things. It's terrible.
I agree with
It's
you 100%.
terrible. This is the stupidest thing I've never had to deal with something this stupid in my life, but end of subject. Next question I have is, all that behind there is zoned residential, and you can plant the crop in that?
As long as it was used as agricultural before that, yes.
Yeah.
It's grandfathered in until it's done being cropland. Once it's done being cropland, then it can't go back to cropland. That's the way our code reads.
Okay. So they can plant that in crop all the time? I got no issue, I just wanted to
No,
make sure,
but
I thought it was rezoned residential.
It was, and I totally agree with you. It should have been mowed a long time ago. We should have sent a bill to the owners if they didn't want to do it. If we sent them a letter, and should have been done. I drove by it several times and I even brought it up.
That's
as well.
great. I can't believe it. I don't know why it got to the city council. Why does the folks that are in this office, why can't they handle something like that? Why do I have to come to a council meeting?
You shouldn't have to.
Well, I know you shouldn't have to, but I want a reason why I had to come here to get that done. It was a simple process, mow the damn grass, you know?
But then I just found out about it.
Bullshit, I don't believe
John, you've
that.
known about it.
I gave that to Kay 3 times, I've been here.
Right,
Why
and I
has she not
passed it to
talked me?
Scott when he was here, and I passed it to John when he was here, not you, John, the other John. And neither one of them are no longer here. Now, I know they were called, I just don't know, I wasn't the one who called them, so I don't know the discussions from Scott or from
Why was the
the
letter not
previous
sent?
administrator.
Why was a certified letter, as the ordinance states, not sent?
You'd have to ask the 2 administrators who are no longer here.
I know it was.
It's an easy answer.
I know it was.
Easy
I know
answer.
it was brought up that it should be mowed. I talked to John about it. We even talked about it in the office, and it was talked about up here.
And then they mowed half of it today, and it's still there.
Yeah,
That's uncalled for. I just.
I think
believe
that now that it's brought to the attention, that it should be addressed. And if it's not addressed in 2 weeks, let us know.
1 week.
1 week.
One
We have a meeting in 2 weeks, is what I'm getting at.
I don't want to be back here in 2 weeks. I want it done in a week.
You know how to
I don't
go.
want, I mean, they need to bail that, what they mowed today. I don't want it left like that. I mean, I mowed that and kept it, my neighbor and I, we mowed that for years when Brenner had it, because I did have a little building back there, but then when Lakewood Partners bought it, I moved my building, put a fence up on my property line, and I said, I'm not gonna mow it anymore. I did when Clyde had it, but it's their property, why can't they take care of it? I mean, I don't understand it, but maybe it's because who they are, I don't know, yeah.
That has nothing to do with it. I'll give Scott a call tomorrow, because he said the guy who's farming the ground was supposed to mow it.
Yeah, they mowed part of it.
I see that. I don't know why they didn't finish it. We'll find out.
Well, let's have it done in a week, that's all I care about.
Thank you.
Yeah.
While we're on that subject, the city owns some property over here behind the, Teresa Whitman's. I can't think of the name of the business now. The old partners.
Home bodies.
Pardon?
Home bodies?
Home
In the
bodies, I'm
apartments.
sorry, I couldn't think of it. Behind that to the East side, there's weeds growing there, and that's city property.
Where the transformer, or the old
Old
substation is.
transformer station used to be.
Okay.
I just noticed that this morning when I went to the post office.
What's his name, Kate?
I can give you his
Hanson.
address.
Dave?
Dan Bruning, maybe? Teresa Hanson is her name.
Yeah, Teresa Hanson.
Here we go.
He, I think, is a Bruning, he left. I just know the address is 598 North Shade Road.
Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. If the council has any objection, we want to add that the Evapco wants to have a trap shoot on their property September 23rd, and they need authorization from the council to do that, and the chief has already said it's all right. Am I correct, Chris?
Yep, and you have a picture in your
Handout.
handouts there that I gave you tonight, that basically we got building A, building B, and then the circle with the black, I X'd out the red, but the circle with the black is the direction that they would go with the trap shoot.
That does not, we're gonna say 200 feet from the house.
Here, that's at least from
Yeah.
both of them, I did measurements, and it's at least, yeah.
With no objection to that, is there a motion to approve the
Oh,
consent
hold on.
agenda?
I still would like to pull out that approved bills and authorize payment to discuss that one bill. That's in front of you. And then we can approve it.
Which, the one I gave you,
Copy.
just added in, I just gave you copies.
Oh, just me?
from
Am
when
I the
you
only
were-
one that has it?
Yes, actually, yes, you are the one that.
Okay, so I'd like to pull out of the bills, approve, is the Boost Construction or Boost Specialties or whatever it's under, for $68 more, Boost Specialties. I would like to discuss that. Please.
I can make copies of that other stuff.
You can pass it around. Then I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with that pulled out, John.
Okay, second,
Second.
roll call.
Beckman,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Muller,
Yes.
Stankham,
Yes.
Waltman.
You want to talk about that before we get too far here?
Yep.
So I noticed in the bills, and I looked at it, and it was brought to my attention by another person, that the bill for pouring a curb and gutter was $6,800. I went by the place that we poured that curb and gutter, and I think it's approximately 12 to 15 feet. And I remember when we hired Lion Construction to pour one down by the 3rd Street, is that the right street? 3rd Street. It was so much a foot, we did like 115 foot, and it cost less than this. I think it's extraordinarily high, and I wanted to bring it to the council's attention before we just go ahead and somebody says, yeah, go ahead and do it, we get a respectable quote.
And what I couldn't find was the quote there that was included for Linen was, I think, 153 feet. I could not find a quote from last year or a bill that we paid to Linen that would have been less than that. This was the last time that Linen had poured concrete. I did ask John today, and he responded to me right before the meeting, was that the discussion on that, when that driveway was being poured, was that the storm drain would be 5,000, and then it was gonna be, he didn't say how many feet, and we didn't have that, but it was like 40-some feet, or $40-some per foot for the other concrete for the curb and gutter. That's all the information.
So
that
they
I have.
replaced the actual storm drain.
Yes.
So that includes
And then-
purchase of the storm drain and
Right.
installation of the storm drain.
Yes.
Not
and that
just curb and
was-
gutter.
And that was a verbal quote of 5,000, which is what they charged us.
Right.
And then the concrete for the curb and gutter was supposed to be 40-some feet, but I don't know how many feet it was that they replaced.
The only way it's 40-some feet if that's the curb and gutter in front of his driveway, and that's not the city's
It would-
responsibility.
It was $40-some per linear
Oh, per
foot,
Okay.
but I don't know how many feet it was that they replaced.
On this thing, it says 153 feet.
That's Linus.
That's Linus,
Yeah,
yeah,
but yeah,
for the
Boost is-
$6,800.
Right, all right.
That didn't include any storm drain at that time. That was just curb and gutter, is the way I understood the quote when I read it.
Linus was.
Linus was, yes, the stuff from Buse that they did, was included in installation of storm drain. And the way John Gibson explained it to me in the email was that it was quoted at $5,000, which is what they charged us. And and then whatever, $40-some per linear foot for the curb and gutter that they replaced, which would have been, I guess 45 feet at $40, yeah, 45 feet at $40 would be $1,800 for the curb and gutter. That's on the Boost specialty. That's the information unfortunately that I
Well,
have.
I think we should go down and measure how many feet it is beside the driveway, not paying the full one. Because it's not 45 feet, what do you think?
Yeah, it's not 45 feet. I mean, they're responsible, if they tore it out, they're responsible to pour it up to the edge of the street.
Right.
We shouldn't have to pay for that across the driveway.
So would you like the city staff to measure it and bring it back to the next council meeting?
Well, yeah, because it's not 45 feet. If you drove down there and looked, it's not 45 feet unless he included the whole driveway, which the city's not responsible for paying Boost for the driveway. Correct?
No, we're not paying for that. Well, I think we could get some clarification before the next council meeting.
But I think, we ought to make sure that we're getting decent quotes on this stuff too. I mean, I know it's hard to get people to get quotes from right now, but that's gonna change here pretty soon.
Okay, we have building permits. We're all signed and approved, Eric.
Yes, I don't do the concrete permits, but otherwise, yes.
I'd like to talk about Zach Lee's and Stan Huffman's for clarification.
Okay,
On Zach Lee's, that's where Scott used to live, correct?
yes,
Is that old garage staying or going?
the old garage is going.
So he's gonna be 10'6" from the property line on the street side?
On the alley side,
On the alley side, he'll be 10'6"?
yes,
How far is he on the street side? Does it say 10 feet?
10 feet.
Doesn't he need to be 12?
He needs
Or
to be
the
10 foot
average
off
front-
an alley.
Huh?
He needs to be 10 foot off an alley.
And 12 feet off the street side?
No, if he's on a corner, I thought it was 10 and 10 if he's on a corner.
It'll be more than that, I mean,
It says, well, the thing here says 10 feet right now. 10 feet 6 on the alley and 10 feet on the garage side, on the street side. Corner lot. The front property line of the corner lot shall be shorter than the two lines adjacent to the streets as plotted, subdivided or laid out. Where the lines are equal to the front line shall be the line which is obviously in the front by reason of the prevailing custom and other buildings in the block. If such front is not evident, then either may be considered the front of the lot, but not both. In any event, the structures located on corner lots must meet the front yard setback for both lot line abutting streets.
well, it's inside, I measured all the front lot setbacks.
So his building permit here, though, says 10 feet,
Well,
and one of them says 6 feet. I just want clarification, because if you look at the existing garage today, it's out further than the front of them houses. You know what I mean? So we have an average front yard setback, correct?
Yes,
So
yes.
he needs to
He's
be
gonna be further to the
south.
south from there.
He is going to be.
Yes, he's gonna be
Okay.
further to the south.
So he'll be like lined up with the front of the other houses, like Cherry Schulte's and stuff down that block.
Yes.
Okay. And that's why I just, because it doesn't show that clarification on this
I know
permit.
I've
That's
gone
why
back
I'm
and forth with this guy 3 times, and I basically filled out his permit because he didn't fill out the permit right either. You know, I mean, and I'm pretty sure he thought I was just a SOB. You know, 'cause I kept telling him no on a lot of stuff until he got his property surveyed and talked to his attorney, And he gave me this big packet of stuff, and we copied off in the city ordinances. And he said, we're following all this, and I said, you are now. I mean, the 3 times before I met with him, he was just rude.
So,
But he's well within the setback, front yard setback, even though it's his right side.
right, yeah. That's the bad part, the tricky part about corner lots, they gotta
Right.
be it on 2 sides.
Yes.
It just doesn't show that on this
Oh, no,
sketch.
this is, all of his drawings are terrible.
So we can put a note on here, he stated he'll be in line with the, or behind to the south of the other front of the houses.
Yes.
What was the other one? Hoffman?
And then that Huffman one, is he putting a raised deck out in front of his house?
Yes.
It's gonna be similar to Jeff Ross's.
Similar to whose?
Jeff Ross's.
There's a notch in front of his house there, there's a notch in there. Most of the deck's gonna be inside that notch,
Yeah.
which I didn't realize when he showed this drawing and he explained this. Went over there and measured, and the front yard setback all along that whole street there is 38 feet, 2 inches or whatever. So I thought he was gonna be coming out from the front of the house 12 feet, which would be too much, but then most of it is sunk back in next to the house, so he's only gonna be coming out 5 feet past his part of the house closer to the street, so he's within the 38 feet.
So this picture just doesn't show it
No,
correctly.
and the picture was very confusing, yeah, because
Do you think we should have on record a better picture in case that we're approving? Does that make sense?
because his house actually comes out to here.
Oh, so his house comes out to here.
Right. You know, so he's just coming out 5 feet, which he could only do 6 feet.
He's got a,
Because he didn't have the house on there, this is the sunken notch.
Oh, okay, so the house
his
comes
house
out.
comes out like this.
I'm just drawing on here.
It's right over there.
So he'll be 6 feet out further than his house is now.
Less than 6 feet.
Less than,
Less than
allowed
6 feet, 5 feet. Okay,
I just wanted the clarification.
Yeah, because the drawing doesn't show the house location well.
And I seen your note on here says that, I met with him and the drawing is not interpreted the drawing correct, he's within the front yard setback, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Because looking at this, it doesn't show that.
Yeah, I know, the
Yeah.
drawing's not good.
He's 30, okay.
I'll make a motion, we approve building permits
Second.
Roll call.
stated.
Walton,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Frank,
yes,
Muller,
Yes.
Stankham.
Yes. Okay, administrator report.
In what, week 4? I've been working on getting to know staff, learning where everything is, going through 2 files, working on learning projects, both past and present. I've also spent some time with the budget for this year, learning where revenues and expenditures are coming from. Jason and I have a meeting tomorrow with Todd from Beach Drinkin to discuss working on finalization of the wastewater treatment plant and some of those items. We plan to do a walk on the 175 project tomorrow to make sure the punch list is complete, or if we notice any
I got a
details.
question on that.
Yeah.
Out there on that 175 by Todd Krause's. I thought they were supposed to put a culvert underneath both driveways, and there's only culvert underneath the west one. And they did that for what?
That's
Last
the,
meeting, we approved what, $12,000 or something? To do,
We had 2 culverts on there, and
Yeah.
there was one culvert by Krause's, and then there was one,
I don't know the names of the individuals, but it's the one house, there's a culvert right next to where the locker is gonna go. And then if you go up the road towards the top of the hill, which we had the puddle that we talked about, that's where the other culvert went. It was not supposed to be 2 at,
Krause's?
no, the DOT, from my understanding, is requires that 1. So there was only 1 that was supposed to be put in there.
Okay, so So that on top, by the main driveway going in their place, wasn't supposed to be a culvert. They just graded that so it flow across.
From my understanding, yes.
So yeah, and to sure the punch list computer, if we notice any details that might have been missed. I know that, you know, there's some seating and stuff that we talked about, but in this 100-degree heat right now, you aren't gonna get any grass to grow if you seat it, so. Thursday, we have a meet and greet with the union representative, just to kind of go over a few things with him. And I've started on some required reports for the state, including the annual financial report, the urban renewal report, and the street report. Those aren't due until November, but I'm just trying to get my head wrapped around them a little bit. Codification of ordinances on your agenda tonight. I do have a consideration of the codification of ordinances. The official code has not been updated since January of 2012. There have been many law changes at the state level that need updated in our code. I believe a full review of the code is necessary, which would take at least a year to properly complete, and that's kind of where I got it with Iowa codification, if you guys were to take that into consideration. You got the flatbed quote on the 450 truck tonight, so we can go over that when we get there. Consideration of updates, Jason and I, just some of the things we've been going over. The policy, the personnel policy hasn't been updated since 2016. I think that should also be reviewed here at some point, maybe some updates done to it. So I've been doing some research with policies from other similars to ours before we start going into that. Yard waste dump policy, we've had several issues arise over the proper use of the dump site over the last few weeks since I've started. I'm also researching other communities' policies to see what they have, to see what we may be able to do about, you know, trying to get something in place out there, just to kind of maybe hopefully bring down some of the issues we've had over the last few weeks. So right now that's all.
Okay. Thank you. Jason?
All right, so on the electrical side, we did some potholing for utilities at the cell tower, which is going up back by the apartments or the senior living up there. Dug the trench, buried some wire. We did look at the tornado siren at Ice House Point, and from my understanding, it is working. We did have a couple complaints that people said it's not working, so we did send the guys out there and have them verify and check everything. Locates, and locates. And locates. We had a ground wire that was hit by a spade when somebody was digging, fixed it. The bucket truck, if there's parts on the bucket trucks that's not working properly, like the bucket won't swivel the way it's supposed to, there's some parts that we need to get ordered, so they've been working on trying to find those right parts. And talking to the manager over those, or the manufacturer over those. And then Trent's also been working with Legacy Power about upcoming works and the plans and the engineering specs. On the public works side, we had the inserter valve inserted on Friday for the water plants. Now we can stop the backflow from the tower to the water plant, so now we can change the filter or the valves in the water plant, so now we can backwash our iron filters and hopefully make everything work better than what it is. Highest service pump 1 stopped working last evening. We did have to call an emergency fix from electric pump. They came, we left here at midnight last night. We still have the motor on order for high service pump 2. It takes time to get the motor. So we didn't have much of a choice in the matter, but high service pump 1 is back up and running, and obviously we produced enough water and got the tower, so we didn't run out of water. All the valves in the town were exercised. We had Cody Rogers come in and do all the exercising. As you notice, the valve boxes are all painted blue. If they're painted all blue, that means they are working properly. If there is a blue X on them, that means they are not working. So we were waiting on the valve report to come so we can hopefully strategize and come up with a plan to make sure all of our valves are gonna start to work for when we need them. We pushed the brush pile, and then we got complaints to the DNR. The DNR called us about the brush pile and the grass clippings. They had 2 complaints. Took some pictures, sent them some pictures. They were not impressed by the amount of smoke that was coming off of it. And we're gonna end up having a visit from the DNR because when they have 2 complaints, they have to come on site. So when their senior specialist gives me a call and says, hey, I'm en route, I'll take them out, we'll go over it. But they already have pictures and know what we're looking at.
And I'll make a side note, just to clarify, the DNR didn't, once they saw the pictures and found that we didn't have an active fire, the smoke was very minimal. They really there wasn't.
Really is the
Yeah,
response I
it really
got.
wasn't.
And we didn't light the grass, that come from something else,
Yep.
Yes.
right?
And I tried to go out there with the backhoe and I was gonna spread the grass out and make it thinner to hopefully stop some of it. The first bucket, all I did was add oxygen and it got worse, so I stopped. I made the decision that I wasn't gonna make it worse and have more calls to the DNR.
Just an FYI for you, in the past, you know, we used to have all the grass and the leaves and everything was over by where the brush was, and the campground used to take ashes down there and it'd get stirred up and light it. And was it 2 years ago, it got lit all the time when we changed that policy? So yeah, stirring it up, and we've dumped, I don't know how many thousands of gallons of water on trying to get it out. It just don't go out, there's nothing we can do. That's why we separated it off.
Well, in the DNR, when they called and we were on a conference call with them, they're like, go put water on it. And we're like, no. Do you understand how much amount of water we're gonna dump on this thing? And it's not gonna do any good.
Right.
So we did get that point across. I'm not worried about the DNR coming, based off of the pictures and what we talked about. So, but it is out there. 2 individuals made complaints. We do have a list of names. If you'd like those names later, I am more than willing to give them to you.
And we're still, we're still monitoring it out there. It's not, we're not leaving it just.
I was out there today and the actual leaves and grass wasn't smoldering, because that's where I don't. But the brush pile was smoldering a little bit, and that was very minimal.
And we pushed it up today again, because we have to. If we don't go out every couple days, nobody's gonna be able to drive in there.
I think you did a great job.
I agree. You're doing a good job.
I think we get more smoke from Canada than we do.
We have 2 campgrounds in town.
Yes.
We probably have a lot more smoke from those than what we do currently out there, or
Yep.
everything. But it's a complaint, we have to address it as needed. The street sweeper, we had it out, and swept some streets. We had 3 lift stations that we hired a company to come in and suck the grease and the grit and everything that sits on the bottom of the lift stations. And if we don't get rid of that stuff, the pumps eventually suck it up. Well, that's wear and tear on our pumps. They eventually quit because you have that. So I'm working with them to try to get some sort of contract so we can do this more routinely, and it will be quicker and easier the more often we do it. I'm still waiting on those. We completed our lead and copper sampling and our total trihalomethane and haloacidic acids, which is a chlorine byproduct. We have to test that every year. Those samples have been sent in. Had the contractors look at Lake Street manhole, storm drain on 6th and West. During the valve exercising, we discovered approximately 3 valves that were just left closed. And out of the 3 valves, we left them open. Why were they closed? We don't know. One of the valves was left closed because there was apparently a leak somewhere, and we ended up going over to Dixieland in a hurry and dug some holes and found out that when they abandoned the service line, they just shut that valve off. So water would feed in this way instead of coming in both ways. We dug it up, we fixed it. CIT was here today, we did 3 cammering of storm sewer lines today. They are all 3 in very poor condition. One of them we could not get very far into. Mr. Mayor was there with us on that one. The other 2 are in residence and very, very poor condition. We're gonna have to do something sooner than later. We can do things called slip lining, where they send what I would call a plastic sock through, and then they hit it with ultraviolet or water or heat or air, and it creates pretty much like a pipe inside of a pipe, to where if that old pipe fails, we're still protecting and doing what we're supposed to do. And it's a lot cheaper than digging up roads and yards and stuff like that when you get down to the nuts and bolts of it. But we are getting quotes for those, so with them being here just today, I can't give you actual numbers, but I will have those by the next council meeting.
You know whereabouts them are at?
So one of them was next to Mr. Whitey's house. It's a storm drain by his house.
That one that,
You looked at?
Yeah. And then the other one is the storm drain by the park.
are these all storm sewers?
Yes.
Okay.
And then the other one is in the alley going underneath the new garage on 7th, in the alley on 7th and 8th Street. We had the conversation about bringing that storm drain up to grade previously, right when I first started. It's Mr. Wilson's house.
Okay.
That one's in very, very poor condition, and it's right outside of where the garage is. So we could only go so far on that one because there was concrete and we would have got the camera stuck in. I told them to stop because I do not want to pay for their camera.
So is that one just something we gotta look at moving that storm sewer?
It can be moved or figuring out how to slip line it. Either way, either one's gonna be very expensive.
What did they say before that garage got built?
Pardon?
What was the building over?
Peterson was gonna move it
Oh, he was?
to the property line, because it cuts right across the property.
But it does.
Then John suggested that slip line, and I think Brian Wilson is agreeable to whatever's gonna work, you know, without causing any issues down the road.
My personal opinion is I would be worried that if we just move it, there's still cement underground that's going bad, that his garage floor eventually, if that goes, is gonna start to do this.
If we move it?
If we were to move it.
And not do anything with what's currently there.
I think slip lining it, finding a way to slip line it, which is gonna add support and not cause eventually his garage floor to start to sink.
And I talked to Lon Boost just the other day too, and he said on the north side of that alley that they redid all that several years ago. That's new tile underneath that side. He couldn't remember exactly how long ago it
Time goes by pretty fast.
I do know there is a drain on the other side. Honestly, I have not popped it because there was no issues over there or anything, so.
Black Squirrel has popped it open and been in there and cambered so far, you know. And he said everything looked good.
So I will have the videos and the still pictures from what we could see today.
Yeah.
And I know there's one portion where 3/4 of the pipe is missing. There's a lot of tree roots right there too. So, the next thing, we have interviews, which is part of the council packet about who we would recommend hiring for the lineman position. Teresa and I had a staff meeting and explained with all staff our expectations and what we're looking for and how we're gonna hopefully move forward and progress and make everything better. Looked at the cement culvert at 310 East Shore Drive. That one's still up for debate on what we're gonna do with that. Teresa and I haven't a ton about it, but there is separation between it. It goes from one side of the driveway to the other side of the driveway. So who owns that and who's part of that? It's the house with all the tractors.
Oh, where the shed is?
So there's the garage in front, and then there's all those tractors lined up right beside it.
Would that be,
Zoomans tractors.
is that,
I don't know who owns that property, right there where the tractors are. I don't know if
you
Zoomans
mean
owns that.
Jensen's? Jensen's old property?
That might be Jensen's property.
Where, there's there a for sale sign on the tree?
I hear you. I
Is
would
it,
be
is there a
guessing.
metal building there?
I was
On the
out
lake,
there.
on the lakeside?
It's on the lake side. It's right where all those, like the 5 tractors.
Yeah.
It's the driveway to go in where those 5 tractors are.
There's supposed to be a culvert there?
So there is a culvert underneath that drive. There's the, what I call the honeycomb on the one side, and then it's open on the other side. And now there's probably, well, they shoved a 2x4 in the hole. Because you can see where the cement culvert underneath it has separated. And it's just allowing dirt and everything to go down.
But it's only
that
under
the-
that driveway.
Is that,
It doesn't go to the lake, it doesn't go across the road. It only goes from one side of his driveway to the other.
so it's like, you know where Paul Alish lives by chance?
He is the one that actually put the 2x4 in the hole.
Okay, so it's close, so it's gotta be that
Well,
chance.
it's just north of him, yeah.
I'm trying to look at the address there. Is, where's the city, is our, is that road still, is that a city road or is that a county road?
So the county, I called the county, and they said that side of the road is ours. Because I was hoping to pass the buck.
Well, I think that should almost be a property owner issue, shouldn't it? If it's for a driveway?
That's where we need to have more discussion. We did have a plugged line at the lift station at Provost. We did go out and sewer jet it. We are developing a plan to go out and get the entire town sewer jetted. If we can stop having fires pop up and dealing with some of that stuff. Since the last council meeting, we had a lot of rain. It wasn't too horrible. We did have some issues with one of the lift stations. We are gonna work with a contractor on getting those issues fixed. I did this, the last council meeting, I did discuss that I was reaching out to a non-affiliated engineer to discuss the drain lines that wanted to be put into the Sager, the walk beds in between the Sager beds. So I did reach out to a non-affiliated engineer and talk to him, and that's stuff that we will go over with Todd tomorrow, on what our opinion and everything on that should be. Still working on information with the backhoe on their meter, and then Teresa and I are working on updating policies and trying to make things hopefully better.
And going back to the high service pump, we did have a discussion today about, because there was a lot of,
It's calcium buildup.
calcium buildup, and so trying to get on a rotation to have, what we were doing, might not have been the best choice. And so trying to get on a plan where every 3 to 6 months we're on a rotation with both of the high service pumps, and once we get both operational again, where we're getting them descaled and, you know, to make sure that,
We're not gonna have any more midnight calls to electric pump, cause
and concerns that we're gonna run out of water.
we
So
know,
we still have another pump on order then, right?
we have the motor on
Motor.
order. The pump is fine, it's just the motor.
I know the last meeting, I mentioned the fact that, you know, and just since then, we've had that 4-inch rain plus, about having a person on call if we needed it. When Randy Gross isn't gonna own his tanks anymore, you know, a couple more inches, we might have had issues.
We might have had the lift stations. We gotta find somebody with.
We gotta find somebody with
honey wagons.
honey wagons to help us out in them instances, because we've had issues around the North Shore.
We have power outages, and we have to go along and keep sucking those things out.
So there, we still need to work on finding somebody local. At the end of the day, if we had to, we can call Rehab System out of Cherokee. It takes an hour for them to get here. They have multiple trucks. They can come and suck it. That's actually who sucked out our lift stations. It's gonna be an hour time delay. I mean, just being upfront and honest about it.
You know, if we can foresee it coming also, you know, it's,
Let's talk to Randy and find out who bought it.
well, but I think they're an hour away. I thought they was up north of Rockwell City.
Oh, I thought they were gonna stay local, maybe not.
There's gotta be somebody with honey wagons around.
Well,
here.
Babcock's got some
yeah,
Oh, yeah,
Keith Babcock's got some right up north of
town.
Evapco.
Yeah.
So the only problem with just getting a honey wagon in is we still have to get out there with a pump.
Right,
If we use Rehab System, they come with their back truck.
right.
We don't have to supply them a pump, so we don't have to have a generator, we don't have to have an end loader or anything, or a skid loader or anything out there to run the hydraulic pump. He pulls up, throws his hose, sucks out, goes dumps.
Yeah,
If we use the honey wagon side of it, we gotta pull the skid loader out, throw our hydraulic pump in order to fill his honey wagon.
and use the backhoe to hold the pump up in the air.
Correct. So, you know, it's putting our guys out there, not saying that we can't, but there's other things, especially in those situations where our guys can be out fixing this or doing this or helping our electrical guys get power back up. Whether it's being a spotter or not.
I just think we wanna make sure we have a backup plan.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That's the most
what my
important thing.
intent was, make sure we got a backup plan.
And that's all I got so far.
Perfect.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Are you sure?
I'm out of the room.
I'm busy.
We don't need much more.
Y'all can have a copy of whatever I just type quick notes, so if you want a copy, I'm more than willing to give you guys a copy so you don't have to write it.
Great job, thank you.
Yep.
Great.
Good start.
Okay, what would the council like to do on the recodification of
So
the ordinance?
in the packet, I have, from Justin Yarsovich from Iowa Codification. So the cost to update the code is $5,000, split into 3 payments, down payment of $1,000, then a draft payment, once they deliver a draft code of $2,000, and the final payment of $2,000. And then they've got some other options, you know, what additional printed copies would be, and, you know, binders and whatnot, so there's a little added cost. If you want us to include the zoning code, which they're 2 separate things right now, you got the zoning code and you have the code of ordinances, it would be an additional $1,500 for them to convert it and add it to the book. It would not do a complete rewrite of the code, they just would do a quick review and basically implement it into the current code of ordinances. He's saying it might be good options, there's some items in our code we typically see in zoning. And by doing this, they look for and try to eliminate potential conflicts. The other option, which is what we actually ended up going with in the city of Holstein when I was there, and I thought it worked great because they really put the code out there in a searchable format. A link on the website would be $750 to set up an online code, and then an annual web hosting fee of $450 or $475 if we decide to add the zoning. I really utilize that a lot. I also put it out there, and I did a QR code for anybody that wanted to go out and take a look at the code online. It kind of saved us with having to print a bunch of copies and different things for people. It just makes it searchable, so if you're looking for something in particular, you put in the word, and then it just takes you to the place in the code, which, I mean, I thought was a nice option. That's not anything that you have to decide at this time. I just think, if you don't want to make the decision tonight, I just wanted to put it out there that, you know, this is something that really probably needs to be looked at and updated, just because with all the different law changes. and stuff that, the code, I mean, just needs to be really updated with different things. And you can also do after that, I mean, as you add ordinances or you change anything, you can, it's a minimal amount of fee, but you can get them incorporated in the code a lot easier and a lot quicker on an annual basis, instead of having, you know.
Rewrite the whole thing.
Right, then it's just, then they suggest you recodify every 5 to 7 years, you know, the whole code in of itself, you know, if you wanna make some changes. Going through this process is a good time to do that. That's why it takes like a year to go through it, is you do a full review of the code and do some comparisons and different things, so.
That was gonna be my question. It takes about a year to.
At least a year, yeah.
This up, okay.
Yeah, because you end up, everybody kind of, how Holstein did it, I wasn't there, we just finished it when I got there, which took us a while to do it, to finish it up, was everybody kind of got a section, you know, of the code, and you guys review it. We have meetings, you know, workshops and different things to go over it. And yeah, it takes about a year to really kind of, and then you get a draft and look at the draft and make any changes you want and then finalize it.
So then, this doesn't include like the new binders and stuff, but we'd have to do that separately?
Yep, that's additional cost is new binders, which, if you guys currently have binders, and tabs, additional pieces, but then the new 2-inch binders are $25 a piece, so, yeah, so you got an additional cost with that.
I think once we got power, this is it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right,
that's why it takes a year to get through.
right.
Did you have it done over the holiday weekend?
Probably. I never did that in school though. Ask Kay, she can verify that.
So what would the council like to do?
Takes a year?
Are we looking at changing any of our stuff?
Now would be the time. If you were gonna recodify, now would be the time to,
Well, that's what I'm saying, if we're gonna recodify, do we wanna make sure we look at what we got, and if we're gonna
Yes.
make
Yes.
any changes first
Yes.
before we recodify?
Yeah, that's why it takes a year, because you really review it, you kind of, they start the process of going through all of the state legislation, because there's a lot of things that have changed since the last time you've gone through this, and basically they look for conflicts, you know, on city code versus what the state code is, and different things, and then also if there's anything that you guys want to change or add or do differently, now would be the time to do that as you go through the process.
This is just something we can budget, I mean,
Right, I mean, you got,
One day.
you got the down payment, but then next year you would budget, and if you wanted to wait until, you know, to start the process until fiscal year '25, you could certainly do that as well. The down payment, what was it for, was the start?
$1,000.
Yeah,
but that can come out of the general fund.
right. And then you budget for the rest of it to finish it up.
I already think that's the way to do it.
I say it's all right. Get the process started.
I'll make a motion to get the process started.
Okay?
Second?
I'll second it. Go ahead, Dave. Yeah, it's all yours.
Pick one, Kay.
Good?
so we get Dave seconding?
Yep.
Yeah. Roll call.
All right. Frank,
Yes.
Waltman,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Muller.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, the bid for the flatbed 450. Jason, do you have any input?
I received 3 quotes, the flatbed, there's 2 flatbed quotes, and then there was to put the utility box on, like what we have on the trucks currently, the 350 or the 550. We chose the lesser of the 3 prices. We would prefer the flatbed that has the little toolboxes underneath, for the equipment that we think we will need when we have that truck out, which just happens to be the cheaper option of all 3.
So it'd be the quote that has the $7,270 on it.
Correct.
That's including the toolbox, or is that just the flatbed?
That's including the toolboxes that are attached underneath. And that is also put on from the I can't remember their name. When the truck comes in, they take it directly to them. They put it on, it's all professionally done, because they do have to move the def tank on the diesel in order to make the flatbed work. And they take care of all that, and then they call us and tell us our truck's done.
I make the motion, we're going to put that flatbed
And
on
I'll
for
second it.
77.
Roll call.
Beckman,
Yes.
Muller,
Yes.
Stankham,
Yes.
Waltman,
Yes.
Frank.
Yes.
Okay, the chief would like to have a position within the department for a detective. Chris, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I mean, first thing I just wanna do the good here. Colton just graduated from the academy, so he's official first day back is today. So if you see him, if you congratulate him, handshake him, he's done a good job. The other thing, about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, Christian was up at the nursing home and he did a presentation up there for active shooter scenarios with them. He did a really good job. So good job, Christian. I appreciate what you do.
There we go.
The detective position, I guess, you know, there's a million reasons why we need one. If we look at our calls for service, how they've kind of increased. With the amount of calls for service, we got an increase in crime. The detective, he can handle a lot of the major crimes, the homicides, robberies, kidnappings, aggravated assaults, sex crimes, high-tech crimes, missing persons. I know George, he's really knowledgeable in these types of things. The way we've conducted investigations over the past year has really changed from how we used to do things. We are doing a lot more search warrants. And I know I've said this before and I've kind of pointed it out. These search warrants are actually helping quite a bit in solving these crimes. Everybody's going to social media, they like to brag on social media, so that's where those search warrants come into play. It's not actually things that, you know, we're not breaking his door, stuff like that. We're getting these search warrants for the like Snapchat and Facebook and that kind of thing, where all the communication is being transmitted. And it's really good to have a detective, somebody who is really knowledgeable on that kind of stuff and knows how to do it. One thing about it is it's time consuming. When you look at investigations can take, you know, days to months to solve crimes. You know, if we have a guy dedicated to doing that kind of stuff, then that could be his focus, is to making sure these crimes are getting investigated and solved. There's two instances I'd like to point out specifically why I think we need a detective. One is the pickleball court. There was a lot of damage caused to that pickleball court, and we weren't able to find out who it was that did it. Not saying that it can't be solved, but if we had a detective at that time that could really, you know, dig into it, there was a possibility where it could have came out on the better end of that. The other one is sex crimes. When you look at sex abuse and that type of thing, especially when it comes to younger individuals and that type of stuff, I think it's extremely important to have somebody specialized in investigations to be able to handle those. Our biggest goal is to make sure we do right by any victim that we come across, and we don't always get that done because we don't have quite the knowledge that we should when it comes to investigations and detective work. As far as the pay-wise, I mean, my recommendation is 80% of my salary, which is where the top-out pay will be in a couple of years. And that's about all I've got.
Do you want to both his search warrants and stuff?
I mean, George's numbers speak for themselves. I mean, he's done a lot since he's been here. When you put us up against any other department, we're doing about twice the work as far as that's concerned. So, I mean,
How long has he been on staff with us?
he's only been on this a few months.
He was the investigator for the county, though?
He was, and he's actually, yeah, a big reason why we saw a lot of these convictions where these guys have gone away for several years. A lot of it's because of him and what he's done.
So would he be staying just in Lakeview, or would he be called out to help the SAC, somebody in SAC?
He could be, and the thing of it is we like to do joint investigations because a lot of what our investigations will lead out into the county, lead out into the other cities. So, and then they already kind of have this little task force put together with someone from Lakeview, George, someone with Sac City, and then someone with the county. So,
Sac City just promoted Michelle to
detective.
The county has a detective that runs those.
They have two detectives. The county has two detectives.
Yeah. One main one.
Right, two, yeah, you're right.
So they would be working as a
They do work for Lakeview. His job is still Lakeview. When he's working, he's still got to respond to calls. He's still got to do everything he normally does. This is going to be added work to him as far as what he's doing.
Be kind of like mutual aid, sort of. I mean, they work together.
Exactly.
If it's something related to Lakeview, but can also be helpful in the county, then they
And a lot of our theft cases reach around
Oh, yeah.
the entire county, in the city.
So he'll still be doing patrol.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere. He's not doing anything different. He just might be in
So
place.
it's just a different title.
Just a title and a little bit more pay for what he's doing because he's doing that extra work. We're not pawning him out anywhere else. He's still a part of Lakeview. His best interests are in Lakeview. This is where he needs to be, and he needs to investigate cases here in Lakeview. But some of that does lead out to the county.
Great.
It's resolution 2342, what would the council like to do?
I'll make a motion that we approve 2342.
Second,
I'll second it.
roll call.
Waltman,
Yes.
Stankham,
Yes.
Muller,
Yes.
Frank.
I still have, I think a town of our size, we're just pricing ourselves right out of the ballpark as far as wages. I'm having a hard time with that. I'm gonna say no.
Beckman,
No.
Okay, we're gonna move on to Christian to assistant chief. We don't have one now, correct?
No.
Cody left.
Yes.
We have a motion to approve that motion.
How will his duties change for that position?
Christian's, he like I said, he's the trainer. Obviously, we got him out in the public
Right.
where he's up doing that kind of training. We want to get him more involved in that side of things. So he'll take on a lot of the responsibilities that Cody had before. We'd just be taking the investigations side of it out, putting that on George, taking the training side out of what he was doing and put that in there. So it's all similar, it's just we're just swapping roles a little bit. But he'd be more, as the assistant chief, the second in charge, he'd be, he's gonna be getting involved in doing the paperwork back here, learning all that side of it and doing all that work as well.
How much you're, I don't look back and I couldn't remember, how many years' experience do you have?
7.
No, he has 7.
7?
He had more than Cody when Cody was appointed.
Okay.
Well, we gotta have somebody when,
Not there.
yeah. And and I'm not opposed to it, the only thing that I do hear while we're talking about the police department quite regularly is nobody in town knows our police officer. Like, I don't know how I know we did a meet and greet thing.
We've been out, that last letter that I gave you,
Yeah,
I just wrote a lot of it, and these guys are out there, they're talking to people, so I
just know we need to do as much as we can with that, you know what I mean?
yeah, and we'll
That's the only, I
increase,
just wanted to bring that to your
we'll
attention while we're
increase
talking.
more as we go, and like I said, if anybody's got ideas on what we can do,
I don't have the right ideas, I just telling you, I know people, I don't know our cops, or I don't know, who's that guy, who's that? And we got a whole lot of new faces, don't get me wrong.
yeah, and
So-
since I've been here, it's been a complete turnover almost twice, so.
But I do think we need to have somebody second in command. Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Second, roll call.
As well, in our budget, I'm sure.
And they've been going to the concerts. I've talked to the police down at the concerts too.
Yeah, see, and I don't see him right there, I'm down at the
Well,
other.
you're at the other end.
Yeah, so, but-
I talked to him, you know, there.
I just, That's the only, that's one thing.
So since Chris started the community policing,
Yeah,
he showed you the statistics. Kane Junkman has almost doubled doe checks. I mean, he's checking those every
yeah, I'm
night.
talking about,
No,
yeah, I'm just
let's
talking about the
just-
public
Yeah, well,
perception of like walking down the
yeah,
street.
well, we go to the shops every day.
Yeah.
I go to the coffee shop every day.
Yeah.
Waltman's seen me there several
Yeah.
times. We have the farmer's market. We have new faces where we're trying to get out.
Yeah.
Some of the guys, Colton just got back from the academy. Nels is still new in town. He's slowly branching out. He has a little bit of a shell on him. George is swamped right now. George is carrying 10 cases. George, Athens.
George, sorry.
George is swamped right now. We're working on it. Well, my guys are at the concerts. We have the Halloween thing. We did Ragbri. We did Sip and Sample. We're out and about.
I don't think that's the question.
Okay.
No,
Go down and see.
That's not what I'm getting at, yeah. I think you understand.
I know where you're coming, yeah.
Just
I know
more,
where we're coming.
more public, like, and I'm just gonna use Storm Lake as an example because they've been doing a lot of it. I mean, they go out and play pickup ball with the kids and they hand out ice cream. I mean, they've got a lot of diversity in the Storm Lake community, so they're challenged all the way from the
And
start.
we're getting there.
So,
Like I said,
yeah, so it's a work in progress, I
As
think,
today,
you know,
this is the
yeah.
first time we've been including Mando
Yeah.
since I started.
Yeah, I think you understand where.
Yeah, I know where
Yeah.
you're coming from.
Yeah, we
I know
just
what
need
you're
to-
saying.
Yeah.
And
You know, and,
we're working on
and
it.
even Chris and I have talked about as some of the, changes and you get Colton, back and different things about code enforcement and that kind of stuff of where we are can be more consistent.
Yeah.
And,
I'm-
being fair with everybody, not just picking and choosing what's happening, so.
We're always gonna try and improve.
Yep.
And
That's
there's the
bottom line.
fact that nobody lives in the community. I mean, you're
So we have to make an extra effort.
an extra effort.
Yes.
Yeah, when they're
Yes,
off duty, they're
exactly.
not seen
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're not seen.
doing whatever.
Well, right, and, even with myself and with Jason, we have to make, because yes, we're here every single day, but we have to make our extra efforts.
And I think some of the public is
in our
so
office.
used to.
Yep.
Well, everybody's used to Royce.
Well, and-
Royce is a people person, there ain't no doubt about it. That's what he was. He was a get out there and shake hands type of guy, and
But for example, stop in at senior meals and introduce yourself to those folks, or,
Yeah.
that's
some
a
events
great
like that.
idea.
Over when they have bingo at the Legion on Monday night.
Well, and even getting them out, at the
School
nursing
start,
home.
Right.
Although, God
That was
forbid,
good
if
at
we
the
have a-
nursing home, that was good.
yeah,
So,
we
yeah.
both
you
went up there.
understand, you understand.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
So I made a motion, right?
Yeah.
Second.
Yeah, and Dave, you seconded it, was that right?
That's correct.
Okay,
There's some
okay.
discussion, so we'll have roll call.
Okay.
Sorry.
Beckman,
Yes.
Waltman,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Muller,
Yes.
Frank.
Yes.
I appreciate it, thank
Chris,
you.
Chris, you and the crew are doing a good job.
Yep, keep it up.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll get better, that's all that matters, and we're gonna improve, and we're gonna keep working at it, and
All I could ask.
Okay, we have, no total vacant, senior in the lineman position. Jason, you were right there to interview.
We had 2 interviews. They were both very good candidates. After our group discussion, we would like to offer the position to Mr. Evan Jacobs. We feel that he is going to be an asset to us. He did go to lineman school. He does have an associate's degree with it because he did some extra stuff, and I would be lying if I said it's like power technology or whatever it's called. But I know it's different than what the other gentleman had. We just felt he would be a stronger fit for our group of individuals.
And Trent liked him, and Trent's gonna have to work with him every day.
True.
Is he from the Auburn, Lake City
Yes, sir.
rural area?
Yes, sir.
You probably know him, his family.
My grandson knows
Yeah.
That is correct.
Yeah, he's,
him. That's, yeah.
He talked about maybe renting a room from your grandson.
Okay. Yeah, he's hired.
is that a motion to approve?
You making that motion there?
I better abstain.
We have a motion to approve the hiring.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Thank you.
Yes.
Muller,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Waltman.
No more items or motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Meeting adjourned. Emily, thanks for coming.
Oh, okay.
I just didn't want to leave it.
Oh.